I would like to acknowledge that this video is being filmed on the traditional lands of the Wurrundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people who may be watching this video today. Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a books beside my bed video for you where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. This is my reading week from the 28th of November until the 2nd of December, and I'm going to be talking about 6 things. I'm going to start with a children's picture book. This is Charlie's Whale by Libby Gleason and illustrated by Hannah Somerville. This was sent to me by Hachette, so thank you very much to them for the review copy. It is absolutely beautiful. This is the story of Charlie, who is a young boy who absolutely loves whales. He reads about them, he knows all of the facts about all of the whales, and his dream is to one day see one in person. And he never gives up on that dream, even though people around him tell him not to get his hopes up and not to expect to see a whale at the aquarium or somewhere else. Like, he is fully obsessed with finding a whale. And it is just a gorgeous story of being passionate about what you love and never giving up and believing in something even when other people do not. So absolutely gorgeous. Really love this one. Well worth checking out. The illustrations are absolutely stunning in this as well. I also read 2 more review copies. This time these ones were sent to me by Alan and Unwin. So the first one is Wolf Girl 8 Welcome to Paradise by Ando. This is the next installment in the Wolf Girl series. It's kind of like a serial junior fiction, middle grade-ish type reader about a young girl called Gwen who ends up surviving sort of the end of the world in a bit of a police state, and she ends up with a pack of dogs, including a mystical magical wolf type dog as well, and in this one she is trying to hunt down her sister. This series is very popular. Ando is absolutely prolific. If you guys haven't figured that out already by the number of Ando books I have been sent for review this year, like there's a book out every month, and this was probably the first series of his that I read when I was teaching grade 3-4 students, and the kids in that age bracket really love this series. I also read One More Mountain by Deborah Ellis. This is part of, I believe it's called, I didn't write down the series, I think it's the Breadwinners series. So the very first book in the series is Pavana, which I know is a very famous book. I actually haven't read it yet. I do have a copy at work, so I'm going to probably borrow it over the holidays. And this story is set in Kabul, and we begin in the perspective of 15-year-old Damza, who at the beginning of the book is being forced into marriage, and she escapes. And she ends up making her way to Pavana, who has created sort of this utopia for women and children in Afghanistan where they can learn skills and they can be free of the restrictions placed on women. So this one really deals with the rise again of the Taliban in Afghanistan, with the comparison of being in 2001, the fall of the Taliban, where women were able to reclaim some of their rights, and again in 2021 when the Taliban has again risen into power, how those rights are being taken away from them, and how Pavana and the group of women that she has surrounded herself with are still fighting that fight. There is also another subplot in here with Pavana's son, who she's trying to send over to New York so that he can pursue a career in ballet. And when the airports are shut down, absolute tragedy strikes and her son has to find his way back to his mother. There are plenty of content warnings in here. This is a middle grade novel, but there is death of a parent, there is violence and prejudice and everything that you would expect to find in a story in here, but it is beautifully written. And for all of the difficult topics that it broaches, it also showcases the love for their country that Pavana and her friends have, and that they really want to see a return to that. So there is a measure of hope within all of that, but this is a heavy middle grade read, so beware of that if you do pick it up, but it is worth it. Then I read the final book for my book friend TBR game for the month, and I ended up choosing Fauxmance by L.H. Cosway, which was one of Bree's prompts to ask a favourite author for a prompt, and Evie Mitchell had selected this one for me, so I'm glad that this was the one that I ended on. This is the story of Ellen, who is a very shy bookworm. She is also secretly a best-selling author, but only a handful of people in her life know that. And she has severe social anxiety. And one way she found to overcome that was she had a bit of a glow up after a drag show, and she took on a new persona, and she went out in a wig and makeup, and no one knew her as Ellen, so she created this separate persona. And she finds great comfort in that, in terms of interacting with other people. And so she's maintained that for a while, and she made a best friend in that persona, and now she's kind of stuck because she knows that if she, after so much time has passed, if she reveals the secret to a friend, she's not sure what the reaction is going to be. But while she's in this persona, she catches the attention of Julian Fairchild, who is a male escort and is just absolutely intrigued by this woman. And eventually he figures out her secret. And then he's even more intrigued by her, and he offers to help her overcome some of that social anxiety and to become more comfortable around other people by taking her out to parties, because he's very well connected. While they spend time together, they begin to get to know one another and they begin to fall in love. And this one had some really fun moments. It's very steamy, but it also has the complexities of interacting with other people and being social, and how do you cope with that if that is not your thing, which I feel that deeply. And also the subplot of Ellen's author persona and the fact that she's never gone out to meet fans, and she is trying to work up to taking the steps to go to her very first signing and to not feel like people are going to be disappointed by her. So like it's gorgeous, and I really, really enjoyed it. Then I read Headcase by Jack Heath. This was sent to me very kindly by Alan and Unwin. This is an adult crime novel, and it is the 4th book in the Timothy Blake series, and I've read and reviewed every single book in this series. In the first few books, Timothy Blake is an FBI consultant, and also his secret is that he is a cannibal, and that drives everything that he does. He's basically been bribed with bodies by the FBI in order to help them solve cases because he's brilliant. And the way he works through things is very useful on cases for them. But in the 3rd book, a lot of things happened, and he now no longer consults for the FBI, but has been recruited by a CIA agent for black ops on US soil. And in this book, the book opens with him in therapy because he has been admitted to a psychiatric facility in a hospital, and we don't quite know why that is the case, but he's talking about a case that he started investigating 2 weeks earlier about the mysterious death of a Chinese astronaut in the middle of a NASA training facility, and no one can figure out why that astronaut is there or how he got there. And that is what he is investigating, because the CIA thinks it is an intelligence issue, but no one can figure anything out. I loved how complex this was. This one, of all the 4 books I think that I've read in this series, made me the most uncomfortable with Blake's cannibalism. And I can't work out why that is. I'm wondering, it could be because I'm really tired and I may not be in the right headspace for it, but that's not to say that I didn't love this book, because I did. I read it from start to finish and just had the best time, because I love this kind of crime mystery type of story. It was very twisty and turny. I like the fact that we kept having that parallel timeline of Blake in the present and Blake in the past solving the case, and the fact that I didn't pick the twist and who was the person responsible. So I thoroughly enjoyed this experience. I have posted a review on my blog and also on Instagram for anyone who is interested in more thoughts about this book. And then the final book that I read this week was Fatal Felons by Elle Thorpe. This is St. View Prison book 3, so I finally finished this first trilogy. It is a polyamorous Waichus story. It is about May, Heath, Roe and Liam. May is involved with all 3 men, and 2 of the men are involved with each other as well, and then they're all involved with each other, which is great because this is a true polyamorous situation. But this one begins with Liam, Roe and May staging Heath's prison break and then having to hide him from the authorities for a period of time. There are a lot of twists and turns in this one, obviously being the 3rd and final book in a trilogy. I can't really say much about the plot because it will spoil it, but we do finally work out who killed May's sister in the 1st book and framed Heath for it, and the reason is not quite what I expected, which was great. And there's also the dynamic of how these 4 people are going to make their relationship work and what that looks like for a family. Thoroughly enjoyed this series. I'm very excited to go back and read the St. View Psychos books 2 and 3 now that I finished this first trilogy. So those are the books that I have read in the last week. In the comments, I'd love to know if you have read any of them or if you're planning on picking any of them up. Alternatively, feel free to share something that you have been reading and enjoying. I would love to hear about it. If you would like to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a whale emoji down below. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.